If you have already watched this introductory information, you can skip ahead no more than 14 minutes. Hello, welcome. I am predicting that famous singer-songwriter Paul Simon of Simon and Garfunkel will die on August 8th, 2025. I'm also predicting that his funeral will be on August 12th, 2025. It is also possible that instead of him dying on August 8th, there will be a relevant, clear prophetic sign that will occur on August 8th that will reveal that Paul Simon will die on August 12th, and therefore August 12th will not be the date of his funeral. This time-stamped email proves that this prediction that Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2025 has been known since November 9th. We can see here the timestamp November 9th, 2024. On November 8th, 2024, we received the relevant prophetic signs related to Paul Simon. And as I wrote right here, God was pointing to November 8th ahead of time because Simon's death will point to Revelation chapter 8, verse 1. And this is the reason why Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2025. In short, the date 8:1 and 11:8 hint at Revelation 8:1 in the Bible, which describes a period of silence that was observed in heaven. Paul Simon's first hit was Sound of Silence. As I wrote right here, it is exactly 38 weeks between November 8th and August 1st, 2025, and Paul Simon is predicted to die at the age of 83, for which 38 weeks hints at. All right, the analysis that God was pointing to August 1st was 100% correct. However, Paul Simon did not die on August 1st. Instead, God provided clear and relevant signs related to Paul Simon, which revealed adding 7 more days to reach August 8th. The sign we received was the news report, the breaking of the news of the sale of the storied mansion in Los Angeles that was built for the most prolific TV producer in history, and God uses extremes and records for his signs. Aaron Spelling, who produced the longest-running drama series in history, Seventh Heaven. That's how we get the addition of 7 days to reach August 8th. And Simon is associated with mansions, or I should say in God's signs, mansion theme and symbolism is related to Paul Simon because his biggest solo album was the Graceland album, and the song Graceland is about Elvis Presley's mansion. There's lots to that for why God is using this theme, but this is immediately recognized. I've been following Paul Simon's signs for years now, and I've known about this theme of mansion symbolism for over 3 years. And so that's why it was immediately recognized that this sign involving the sale of this mansion, and one of the big signs is the sale of Paul Simon's mansion. It's not only a mansion sign on August 1st that we received, but the story was the sale of the mansion. And that's again because one of the signs is the sale of Paul Simon's mansion back on July 1st, 2022. And that the details of that prophetic sign are explained elsewhere. Now, another thing about the 7 days connection is Paul Simon at this time on August 1st he still is, but he won't be by the date of August 8th, touring for his new album, 7 Psalms. The cover art for the album is from Thomas Moran's Two Owls, and it depicts owls. And on this same August 1st date, another prophetic sign was a mass shooting in the 41st state. Paul Simon was born in Paul Simon was born in 41, and the reason for that, the significance of that, is that the word he is equal to 41 in simple English gematria. A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3. And it is a key that opens the bottomless pit in one of the 7 trumpet judgments in the book of Revelation that follows the period of silence that was observed as in the sound of silence in the beginning of Revelation chapter 8, Revelation 8:1. And Paul Simon is known for being a music composer, and music compositions use music keys. And also, so that's why the key, the 41st state, clearly hints at Paul Simon. In general, God uses the mass shootings for symbolism for the mark of the Antichrist, which is also mentioned in that same trumpet judgment, is alluded to anyway, in that same trumpet judgment in which the key opens the door to the bottomless pit to the demons that will cross over into the earthly realm and demonically possess people who have taken the mark of the Antichrist, which is the thing that comes out, which is symbolized by the things that come out of guns and go into people. That's why mass shootings are prophetic signs. So we have a mass shooting in the 41st state, and it was in the bar named the Owl Bar. The name of the bar in which the 4 deaths occurred, and God is associated with the number 4 with Paul Simon and his signs in general, and that's explained elsewhere. But it was 4 deaths, and that's because the door that opens to the bottomless pit is symbolized by the number 4, because the 4th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the symbol for a door, and it's the key that opens the door to the bottomless pit. And so that's why the number 4. And so it was 4 deaths in the Owl Bar in the 41st state. Paul Simon's born in 41, and hints at key. And he was born on the 13th day of the month, and the 41 is the 13th prime number. And so that's why we also have the number 4 there. And when we add 7 plus 4 days, we get a total of 11 days. And we add that 7 plus 4 days to August 1st, gets us to August 12th. And also August 12th is 11 days after August 1st. And on August 1st, the story was the sale of the mansion, which sold for $110 million, which hints at 11. In other words, what I am saying is that God is also pointing to August 12th. And I believe at this time that it is the date for the funeral. But if this isn't correct, it is because Paul Simon will die on August 12th. And instead, on August 8th, we will receive more clear, relevant prophetic signs that will probably involve the number 4 and indicate adding 4 more days to reach the date on which it is predicted that Paul Simon will die on August 12th. But as of right now, anyway, I believe that Paul Simon will die on August 8th. 7 days after the 7th heaven sign the sale of the mansion of the producer of 7th Heaven. And also, by the way, Paul Simon's Graceland album released the song The Boy in the Bubble, and that song was inspired by one of Aaron Spelling's TV movies, The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. Another connection between Aaron Spelling, the mansion sale, and Paul Simon. And also, The Boy in the Bubble song is from the Graceland Mansion album, and that album is Paul Simon's best-selling album, solo album, and it is the 7th album of Paul Simon. Now, the reason for going into this right here at the beginning of this little introduction, the main point here, is that I predicted Paul Simon's death on August 8th, back in November of 2024. For those that are reasonable, for those with eyes to see, this will be clearly recognized. Again, I predicted back on November 9th, 2024, that Paul Simon would die on August 1st. Then we received the clear and relevant signs that indicated adding 7 days to reach August 8th. And so when Paul Simon dies on August 8th, as is predicted, it will therefore mean that I predicted his death on August 8th, if you will, back in November of 2024. The reasonable person will recognize that this is true. A dirty bomb is a conventional explosive that uses radioactive material. I am predicting that 3 dirty bombs will explode in New York City, in Times Square, Penn Station, and Grand Central Station. There will then be a massive evacuation from Manhattan Island. I am predicting that these 3 dirty bombs will explode on either August 30th or September 4th. I am also predicting that a dirty bomb will explode in the port of Los Angeles on September 4th. I am predicting that Tehran, Iran, will be nuked by the US or possibly Israel on September 7th, 2025. This will obviously be in response to the dirty bombs that are predicted to explode in New York City. I am predicting that Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom will die in a plane crash in St. Louis as they are traveling from Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles in Busch Stadium in St. Louis on August 2nd, 2028. This will be during the predicted presidential campaign of Gavin Newsom. As a result of Gavin Newsom's death, Michelle Obama will become the Democrat Party's presidential nomination. Michelle Obama will, quote unquote, win the election over J.D. Vance on November 7th, 2028, and will become the president on January 20th, 2029. Donald Trump is predicted to run as J.D. Vance's vice president. This scheme to overcome the 22nd Amendment will backfire and inspire Michelle Obama and Barack Obama to run on the ticket with Barack Obama as Michelle Obama's vice president. She will then step down and Barack Obama will become the president again. It is predicted that there will be a massive Mary apparition on the beach in Rio, Brazil on April 24th, 2029. It is now recognized that there will be 2 massive Mary apparitions on the beach in Rio. The first of the 2 is predicted to be on March 22nd, 2029. These predicted Mary apparitions will not be secretive. They will be mainstream, worldwide news. Like all Mary apparitions in history, including at Lourdes, Guadalupe, and Fatima, this Mary apparition will be a demon pretending to be Mary. It is predicted that on April 26th, 2029, the key will open the bottomless pit and fallen angels will cross over into the earthly realm. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to the 5th trumpet judgment that is described in Revelation chapter 9, when the demonic realm collides with the earthly realm. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to demons pretending to be aliens. The demons pretending to be aliens will claim to be here to help us with our nuclear weapons. It is predicted that Pope Francis will be resurrected from the grave on April 26th, 2029, and it is possible that on this day, Pope Francis will announce that aliens have arrived and have made him the ambassador for the world. This will immediately give Pope Francis, the Antichrist, supreme power over governments of the world. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to a zombie pandemic and the masses becoming demonically possessed that will be facilitated through the thing, which is the mark of the Antichrist and 5G frequencies. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to the coming genocide politicide in America. The resurrection rapture event will occur on Pentecost on May 27th, 2029. On September 11th, 2029, there will be a catastrophic asteroid hit of Earth in the Indian Ocean. The greatest seismic effect of this will be felt on the other side of the globe, which is North America, and this will trigger an eruption of Yellowstone volcano and will cause the volcano in the Canary Islands to collapse into the Atlantic Ocean and send a mega tsunami towards the East Coast. It will also trigger the collapse of the Hoover Dam, which will cause a water panic in California, and many other devastating earthquakes. The day of the Lord, the second coming of Lord Jesus Christ, Judgment Day, will be at the end of 2031. The date that this video is posted proves that these predictions are being made ahead of time, as do these time-stamped emails and forensic notes PDF documents. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. All right. Welcome. God is pointing, regarding Paul Simon and his predicted death, to 2 dates, August 8th and August 12th. This video was originally recorded when it was believed that because logically the latter of the 2 dates comes last, that would be the date that Paul Simon would die, August 12th. However, it has been considered, and it's possible that Paul Simon will die on August 8th, and the reason why God is also pointing to August 12th is that this will be the day of his funeral. And so in other words, I'm predicting that Paul Simon will die on August 8th and his funeral will be on August 12th, or that he will simply die on August 12th. And the reason for him pointing to August 8th is that there will be clear, relevant, related signs to Paul Simon that will reveal adding 4 more days to get August 12th. Anyway, the point is that this video must be watched. It's extremely important, and it'll explain the reasons for why God is pointing to, or how God is pointing to August 12th. And when the predictions comes to pass, it should be realized by the wise person that every minute of every video on this channel, including the Paul Simon videos, must be watched, because God is telling these extremely important stories through these signs and connections that are different in each video. And through the stories, he is communicating essential and extremely important knowledge. Again, I'll just repeat it to be extra clear. I am predicting that Paul Simon will die on August 8th, and that his funeral will be on August 12th. And this video is about August 12th, and it was recorded when it was believed that August 12th would be the day that Paul Simon would die. So all of the information that I'll be explaining for how August 12th is known is still 100% valid. Just realize that I now believe that it will be the day of the funeral instead of his death, which is predicted to be on August 8th. Simon is associated with the number 4 through door symbolism. Simon is known for his music compositions, and music involves music keys. An important aspect of a basketball court is its keys. August 12, 2025 will be 44 plus 4 days after June 25th, 2025, and the big news story about the 4 times 4th player selected in the NBA draft by the Portland Trail Blazers. Okay? So again, God is associating massive, big time, this number 4 with Paul Simon because of the door symbolism. And again, the door is open to the bottomless pit in one of the trumpet judgments that follow the sound of silence in heaven. And Paul Simon's first hit was Sound of Silence. And of course, the door symbolism is the same as the bridge. And his biggest album was Bridge Over Troubled Water, which would be the bridge that the demons crossed in the bottomless pit, troubled water. Okay? Now, Simon's known for his music compositions, which involve keys. And an important aspect of basketball courts is keys. And again, Simon was born in 41, and the word key is equal to 41 in simple English gematria. All right, as I explained earlier, and on and on. Now, August 12th, and here's the number 4 again. August 12th, the date Simon is predicted to die, will be 44 plus 4 days, and God repeats the number 3 times for emphasis of its symbolic meaning, after July 25th, and that was the day of the big news story within the NBA draft, which was the 4 times 4th player selected. There was 2 main stories, the first player selected and the 4 times 4th player selected. And God pairs 23 and 44 together to confirm the signs and connections. And this is how God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works. It works on the principle of second and third and multiple witnesses confirming a matter, as the Bible says is required. And this is what makes what is being explained on this channel true and not a product of one's imagination and different and unique than everything else on the internet that claims to be an analysis of God's prophetic signs. And if we think about it, one simple way in which he would provide a second witness for us is through pairing certain numbers together, such as 23 and 44. And I know this is the case because I've been studying his big picture of signs, patterns, and connections from morning until night for more than full-time hours for more than 7 years. Anyway, 23 and 44 because the 44th president was the basketball president who wore jersey number 23. Speaking of this basketball sign and the NBA draft and the 4 times 4th player. The other player, the first player selected, was associated with the number 23 because the big story about that guy was how he is from a small town in the 23rd state, Maine. And during the draft, because he's from such a small town that everyone knows each other, the whole town was gathered in the gymnasium and watched the whole NBA draft live on television and cheered for him. And that was the story. And it was all about the 23rd state. And and God uses the number 23 for prophetic signs. But he pairs it with 44, which is why the other story was the 4 times 4th player. And he was the guy selected by the Portland, as in portal, as in door, Trailblazers. And the story is that this guy was obscure and no one knew about him prior to his selection, and he comes from an obscure league in China. And China is the red dragon, which is symbolic of the red dragon in the Bible, which is symbolic of the Antichrist. And the Antichrist is the basketball president. And so he was selected 4 times fourth. And it was a news story because he was from, obscure league in China and all that, right? Okay. So a port, as in Portland, or a portal, is symbolic of a door, as in 4 times fourth player selected, 44 plus 4 days before Simon's predicted death. Now, June 25th was in turn 444 days after the eclipse over America on the date 4/8, which is at 48, which is 44 plus 4. And that's a typo. It was in 2024. The path of totality of the eclipse first entered the U.S. over Eagle Pass, Texas, and then passed over Wimberley, Texas, where Simon currently lives. The 4th song released from Simon's Bridge Over Troubled Water, as in Doors 4, was El Condor Pasa, which is the same meaning as Eagle Pass. And El Condor, the condor, a condor is a bird of prey just like an eagle, and it has large wingspans and all of that. Pasa means pass, as in Eagle Pass. Okay, so the eclipse, in other words, pointed to Paul Simon. It first entered the U.S. over Eagle Pass, and then shortly after passed over Wimberley, Texas, where Paul Simon lives. Okay, and the 4th song, as in 4th song, okay, was Troubled Water, was from Bridge Over Troubled Water, was El Condor Pasa. On the day of the eclipse, Nike released its first commercial for its new Wembanyama basketball shoe. So 444 days, in other words, connects the basketball draft to this basketball sign that occurred on the day of the eclipse. And Wembanyama, the name, hints at Wimberley, and Wembanyama plays for San Antonio, which is right near Wimberley. Wembanyama also hints at the 44th president, Obama, the basketball president. Now, Wembanyama's nickname is the Alien because he is 7 foot 4 inches tall. And the Nike commercial, and that's not common for a basketball player because usually when they are that tall, they're not fast and they're not good. And the Nike commercial used alien and UFO imagery because of his nickname being the Alien. The number 4 symbolizes the door that demons will enter through and then pretend to be aliens from another planet. The flooding near San Antonio and Wimberley, Texas, that occurred on the date 7/4 was 4 times 4 times 4 plus 4 days after the commercial for the Alien, who is 7 foot 4 inches. So the flooding that pointed to, Simon and Wimberley, Texas on the date 7/4 and the 7 times 4th state connected with these 4s, and 4 4s actually, to the commercial involving the Alien, who is named so because he is 7 foot 4 inches tall, which confirms all of the everything, right? The path of totality of the eclipse crossed the path of totality of the eclipse in 2017 that went over America, exactly where the 2017 eclipse peaked. The 2017 eclipse peaked, the 2017 eclipse first entered Oregon near Portland, as in Portland Trailblazers. The name Portland Trailblazers hints at a path of totality of an eclipse that is produced by the blazing sun. A trail, path of totality, blazers, basketball, orange basketballs also symbolize the sun, okay? And in their logo, they probably have a flaming basketball, which would be symbolic of the sun, as in the path of totality of the eclipse. The paths of totality of the eclipses crossed over each other over the area of the country that is nicknamed Little Egypt and Cairo, Illinois. Simon's song, Graceland, is about traveling to the king of rock and roll's mansion in Little Egypt in Memphis, Tennessee, the 4 times 4th state. And Memphis is named after Memphis, Egypt. And again, the king's palace, the rock and roll king's mansion, is symbolic of a king's palace in Egypt. And the king in Egypt is symbolic of the Antichrist. The eclipse on 4/8/2024 is 4 times 4 months and 4 days before Simon's predicted death on August 12th. And again, the eclipse crossed over the other eclipse over Little Egypt in the 4 times 4th state, pointed to the mansion nearby in Little Egypt, etc. By the way, Elvis Presley has a hit song, Little Egypt. Okay. The date, August 12th, is 12/8 outside the US, and this hints at G128 in the Greek concordance, which is the word that means the Ethiopian. In the Bible, the Ethiopian was traveling to Egypt. He was a servant of the Queen of Egypt. In God's signs, the Ethiopian, as in the Ethiopian symbolism from the Bible, in God's signs, the Ethiopian symbolism, as in G128, as in the date 12/8, which is 8/12 in the US, okay, in God's signs, the Ethiopian points to the Antichrist 44th president, who was born in East Africa, near Ethiopia, and who will reside in the White House mansion. This is merely scratching the surface of the reasons for how this prediction is known in advance. For more information, please visit odyssey.com, spelled ODYSEE.com, or rumble.com video channel, Asteroid Prediction, and also read the website trumpprediction.com. Believe me, I know far better than you how the prediction made in this video was derived, and more importantly, I know far better than you why the righteous Christian God of the Bible has given me a voice through this prediction. If you are a quote-unquote Christian or Muslim, this prediction was not learned through a demon. Be warned that blaspheming the Holy Spirit is the unforgivable sin. If you are a New Ager or New Spirituality person, this prediction was not learned through somehow tapping into the supposed universal collective consciousness. If you are a conspiracy theorist, this prediction was not learned through figuring out a supposed code that the Illuminati and Satanists are using. This prediction was learned through the Bible and through watching carefully the Lord's prophetic signs, which Jesus commanded all Christians to do. Besides proving that Jesus Christ is the Lord, the reason why God has given me a voice through this prediction is to prove that the controversial things that I am saying in the videos on this channel are the truth. Therefore, a wise person will want to watch all of the videos on this channel. What I will also do is create a video or two that summarizes some of the controversial things that the Lord will prove to be true when the prediction being made in this video comes to pass. I will leave links to these must-watch videos in the description box below this video. Again, the purpose of this prediction, that is from God, is to prove these things that I will talk about. And therefore, it would be foolish to not watch the videos that I will leave links for in the description box below this video. Aliens and UFOs are demons masquerading as aliens and UFOs. Most people's spiritual experiences are demonic deception, especially if they are not a true follower of Christ. In the last days, many people who claim to be a follower of Christ will have spiritual experiences that are in reality demonic. God became a man and died a horrible death at the hand of the ruler of this world, Satan, and then defeated death for you, so that you too can overcome death, which is the price that must be paid for sin. It is time to repent, which means to change one's ways and turn to God and become a disciple of Jesus. Do not listen to or follow the example of most quote-unquote Christians. Instead, follow the teachings of Jesus, which most quote-unquote Christians ignore. Like Jesus, you must surrender your life. Put nothing ahead of Jesus, your Lord. Like Jesus, you must lay down your life so that you may live. As Jesus said, one must die first, like a kernel of wheat going into the ground, in order to then grow and produce fruit. And like Jesus said, one must produce fruit, or else like a branch or a tree not producing fruit, they will be thrown into the fire. Jesus was speaking to quote-unquote Christians when he said this. One must die the self in order to be born again. And like Jesus said, one must be born again to enter the kingdom. Like Jesus, you must sacrifice your life for the sake of the coming kingdom. It means to do work that involves some form of sacrifice and risk. To have faith does not mean to intellectually agree. You need to demonstrate your faith through taking action. To have faith means to trust in God's promises. Taking action demonstrates trust and fear of the Lord. The primary reason that the wrath of God is coming upon America is quote-unquote Christians that do not get what I have just explained. The only reason a Christian is alive is in order to help other people become Christians and make it to the kingdom. Do not be deceived by those on the political left claiming to be quote-unquote Christians. There is no such thing as a Christian on today's political progressive left. Jesus said, "Do not think I have come to abolish or change any bit of the law or the prophets of the Old Testament Bible." In other words, the God of the Old Testament Bible is the exact same God of the New Testament Bible. It is essential that you learn about the God of the Bible and his ways. The God of the Old Testament Bible is looking to see who will fear him, and to fear God is not the same thing as quote-unquote revering or honoring God. Through Christ's ransom payment, a Christian is someone who has been redeemed and freed from slavery to sin and Satan. In response, a true Christian recognizes that their life in this world does not belong to them, and they become a willing slave to Jesus for the sake of the kingdom. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. And don't only put the link to this video or another video on this channel in comments sections of places you typically visit, but importantly, put the link to the video in places you never visit, where people who don't think like you visit. If you are a quote-unquote Christian, nothing in terms of an evangelism tool compares to this video with its prediction. It is a massive bag of gold. Beware of Jesus' warning through the quote-unquote Christian that did nothing with his bag of gold and was banished to hell. Also, read Ezekiel chapter 3 and 33 for this same warning. If you think you might be spending too much time watching videos instead of working and sacrificing for the kingdom through handing out flyers and potentially helping hundreds of people in the same length of time as a video, my flyer is filled with amazing information that people need to know right now, and it points people to the video channel. Now is not the time to be handing out typical evangelical tracts that are largely based in error anyway, such as, quote, Jesus loves you, unquote, for example. You can hand out the flyer on busy street corners, put them on car windshields in busy parking lots, and put them in mailboxes. Just send the file to your local print shop. You can download the file from the website. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. It is essential that everyone immediately read the homepage of my website, asteroidprediction.com. If you are watching this on the YouTube platform, please note that not all of the videos are on YouTube. You need to switch to the Odyssey.com or Rumble.com channel, and do it now in case you aren't able to later.